Hello, revolutionaries. Welcome back to another episode of the Customer Service Revolution podcast. I am here with your host, John DiJulius, and I am Denise Thompson, managing partner of the DiJulius Group. How are you, John?
I am doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I wanted to tell you a story. I recently got new glasses, and are you familiar with
one?
Well, this is one pair. I actually got two pair. So Warby Parker.
Yeah, I use them.
I think they're great. They have great service. So I got two pairs, and the one pair I just did not like at all. And my own fault. I actually tried them on in the store, but when I received them at home, didn't like the color, didn't like a couple things about them. Took them back, and you expect you would get some kind of flack, and none whatsoever. Not only did they happily take them back and help me to select a new pair, but even said, we don't need the case or the cleaning cloth that came with it. Would you like to take that home? Made it easy as pie to do. And then I got my second pair that, my replacement that came, and something's not right. There's the field of vision at the bottom. And any other place, I would be concerned about having to go back again. But you just know
now you have a pattern of complaining.
Right? Yeah, that's what I look like. I am the squeaky wheel. This is the one not happy with. Yeah. But I know that it's going to be an easy transaction because they are easy to deal with. So something I wanted to talk about today is being zero risk, being a company that, people have no challenge doing business with. They make it easy to do business with them.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and it happens to be the topic of an upcoming Livestream workshop that you are doing in June.
Yeah. So zero risk is exactly what you described. With zero risk, to be a zero risk company, what it doesn't mean is that company never screws up or drops a ball. That's impossible. What a zero risk company does mean is that they probably screw up, drop the ball less than their competitors. But just as important, maybe more importantly, is when they do drop the ball, they pick it up and make it right. And in your cases, and Amazon, it's not just about being easy to do business with, but it's when something goes wrong. So Amazon to me is zero risk. Nordstrom's is zero risk. Apple is zero risk. I know, like with Nordstrom's, I don't have to worry if it's like past 30 days or I can't find the receipt. Or, like you said, because in so many cases you think of all these arguments and what they're going to deny, and you're going to come back with this. And then when they don't do that, you're kind of like, I don't want to fight. But like Amazon, and this always happens, now it's just what I expect. But one time I bought a digital viewer, the picture frame where you put digital thing. And I don't know why, but I bought it in August as a Christmas gift. I have no idea why. I'm usually not that thing. So I never opened it until Christmas or right before Christmas. And now whoever it was for, I wanted to load pictures, and it wouldn't go on. And I'm like, I'm screwed. It's December. I bought it in August, but I thought I would try just the same. And so went to Amazon, and they did say you have to deal with the third party. And I'm like, oh, now I'm really going to think. Third party said, kind of like what you had said, they said, keep it. Maybe you can go, maybe it's a plug. You can go get it Radio Shack or whatever it is. We'll send you a replacement one. And I was blown away, and made me trust Amazon, because Amazon is so strict with their vendors that their vendors have to keep their customers happy. Otherwise, Amazon will kick you off. But that's zero risk. And that's one of the elements, is having protocols in place for when the ball is dropped or a customer is unhappy, anticipate it. And so the best companies know where they're going to drop the ball. They don't know if it's going to be today at 10 or tomorrow at 2, but they know these are the four most common places we drop the ball. So let's create some systems that get it from 5% to 2%. Huge victory. But still going to happen 2% at a time. So let's be prepared for when it does, that the 18-year-old hostess or the GM can handle and the customer isn't upset.
So what does that look like, being a company that knows where they dropped the ball? How do they figure that out?
So, it's from your research, it's from complaints, it's from, all your service defects, what do companies complain about? And usually, it was funny. We did it for the hair salon, 25 years ago. And at the same time, I was working with Price Waterhouse, consulting with them. And our 4 or 5 places we dropped the ball the most were the exact same. Hair salon, Price Waterhouse. In no particular order. Our first one was, let's say, price. And it was more of a communication of price. That on our menu, on the website, whatever it says, highlights, start at $150. But you have long hair, thick hair, you ask for, a lot of different things, and you get up and it's $260. And you're like, it's only $150, right? We didn't manage expectations. We didn't say, based on the thickness of your hair, how long your hair is, what you're asking for, this is what that will be. It's going to be about $260, giving that guest the option to say, hell no, or what can I do to get it lower? All right, we can not do this, and then, doing that. So it's usually a miscommunication of price. Quality of work. You just don't like what you got, what you left with, what they did. All right, that's number 2. You might have a 3 o'clock appointment at the doctor's office, or we're expecting your financials Tuesday at 9, and it got blown way past that, right? Professionalism of an employee. They gave you an attitude. They were, whatever, how they made you feel. And I might be missing one, but those, I couldn't believe those were the same for a hair salon and the same for Price Waterhouse. So now once you know them, all right, what can we put into place that reduce the appointment mistake / delay? All right. So, back in the day when we started, before we'd hang up and we had the software tell us, because you called up and you're talking about, you want a haircut with Sandy, and I'm giving you all Sandy's availabilities, and, she has 3 o'clock on Thursday or 6 on Wednesday. And we talked about so many times that you hung up and you thought it was 6 o'clock on Thursday, right? So now before we hang up, all right, Denise, that's, Thursday, February 1st with Sandy at the Solon location for a haircut at 6 p.m., right? And, it's a little script that reduced the, wait, I thought you said, but it's still going to happen, right? If we can get it from, if we make 1% of appointment mistakes a week, we're pissing off 20 people if we're 99% accurate. So now what do we have in place for when that client walks in and we don't have her down for the time she thinks? Now we have, boom, if it's a minor inconvenience, like 10 minutes, or we can get, don't let her know or thank her for her patience. If it's a major one, you got to do major recovery. And that might be, it's on us, and you're getting something else on top of that because we have to ask you to come back tomorrow or wait 2 hours.
Here's something that I have an issue with companies that, whether it's you're taking something back, you had to wait too long, whatever it might be. And this just happened to me with an app I was trying to get rid of. And I had to call, and the person told me they could, whatever they told me they could do. They advertised themselves as a 5-day, return policy or something like that. Well, I could return the first part at, full under that, but then that's all I can do. And so I asked, is there someone else I can speak with? Well, let me put you on hold. So they put me on hold, and then they come back and they say, well, I can do this. And I'm like, that's still not, it just wasn't right. And is there somebody I can speak with? And they put me on hold again. And they kept coming back, and it kept getting better and better and better until they finally gave me what I had originally
it was a game
asked for, which was frustrating, right? Now, that person could be a retention specialist who, that's their job, to try and get you to either stay or to
renew,
give you something back, which some companies are known to have, right? A
Yeah.
cable company, maybe.
And all that employees' incentives and pay is predicated on them not letting people quit. It's not the
Oh,
employee's fault.
right, right. And I completely understand that. And I was almost laughing speaking with the person, knowing that these things take place. But on the other side are employees that are empowered. And a lot of times employers are afraid to empower their employees to do whatever it takes to make a client customer happy. How do you get to the point where you can trust and empower your employees to take care of things that happen? Like you mentioned in the salon,
Yeah.
right? Somebody has to wait a long time, depending on how long it is how big. How do you train that to happen?
So my philosophy, I try to always say in my companies is, you'll never get in trouble for something you do. You only get in trouble for something you don't. Meaning, just take care of it. I don't want this to spiral. I don't want her to, have to ask for the manager, contact me. That's not good. She or he is going to be doing brand terrorism. And every time they have to retell their story, they get more angry and they remember that this happened actually one time before. Now, they've told everyone and they are embellishing it every time they tell it. Uh, so just take care of it. I'd rather my employees be naive than paranoid. And don't punish 98% of the customers that you're afraid 2% are going to get taken advantage of. I'm okay with getting taken advantage of 2% at a time because what I get back from the 98% that we just give no hassle, right? And we'll make it right. We overcorrect. We address it and we overcorrect. And I just think that's all in the culture and training that you have to give your employees. And just because you train them once doesn't mean because that employee, they're loyal to the company and they have been programmed by their past jobs not to let customers take advantage of them. And, and you got to say, no, it's okay. It's okay. I don't think they are, and it's not the employee's fault, but they still will have a knee-jerk reaction, a muscle memory to defend, to question. And so you have to constantly be teaching them, you don't have to, give them the third degree. You don't have to make them prove anything. Now there is a catch net for like if someone always isn't happy and that, but I even like to talk about that, because we make that 1 or 2% feel like it's 50%. Because that's the only conversations we have. But it's about training. It's about really celebrating that, hey, Sally, the 18-year-old hostess, made the Platinum VIP client so happy when we screwed up her appointment and she gave her next one on us and a free pedicure. You're celebrating that. And versus me, I would have gotten fired for doing that at my last job. Well, here you might get fired for, if you didn't do that. But that's a mindset. That's a culture shift. That's really hard, and you're probably not going to find enough employees that will have that in them. So you have to really constantly be helping change that. And
So how do you train it? Is it just advertising it regularly?
yeah, so first off, we train where we drop the ball the most in kind of 3 ways. If it's minor inconvenience, yeah, you don't have to give away the house. If we just made you wait 5 minutes, we could just hey, thanks for your patience. We really appreciate that. If it's major inconvenience, here's what you come out doing it, doing whatever you need to. So talk about where because you're also training them on how to avoid and reduce these in the front end by doing those things, and then having how do you want every employee to do it? This goes back to employee roulette. Someone may bring a complaint to you and you handle it perfectly. They bring it to someone else and they again are defensive and questioning and prosecuting, and they put lipstick on something that deserved a lot more. Different companies have different acronyms. I like to tell my employees to do the LEAST. LEAST stands for listen, empathize, apologize, solve, and thank. And each one has its own training, right? Listen, don't interrupt, don't defend, listen like you're wrong. Because again, I could get
I like
defensive and
that.
say,
Listen like you're wrong.
yeah, listen like you're wrong. It's hard. It's hard. Listen like you're wrong. Don't defend, explore. Don't defend your ideas, explore new ones. Let them repeat themselves. Like, even though you know where they're going, even though someone already told you, they want to get it off their chest, with them, and apologize. And apologize might not be that you're admitting it was, your fault. I apologize for the miscommunication. I apologize, for, that this didn't go the way, you or I had hoped. And they make sure they know the resources and what they can do. And thank you. I have an email signature. We probably all have email signatures, but I have an email signature for customer complaints because I want to make sure I get it right. I don't know what it says about me that I need an email signature for people that complain, right? We get enough. But I want to thank the person profusely, because most of the time I don't tell a company when I'm unhappy. I just stop going. And I'm like, well, why don't I tell them? Because I don't think they care. Why don't I think they care? It's just a vibe, right? And I'd rather get home 15 minutes early than say, can I see your manager? Or can I speak to your supervisor? And just know that person thinks that I'm just trying to get something for free. I don't want to deal with that. I'm just never going to come back. So I start thinking, God, how often does that happen to me in our businesses? Probably all the time. So how can we advertise we care about your feedback? Did someone crush it for you today? Tell us so we can celebrate that behavior and recognize them. Did we miss the mark? Please tell us so we can reduce this from happening again in the future. That, so that, kind of helps go with least and training them on the listen, empathize, apologize, solve, and thank. And so that's where my thank comes in, is my email is just, Denise, thank you so much for taking the time to share this with me. You could have easily not spent the time and sending me this email, calling me, whatever the interaction was, and not just, but you gave me the opportunity to not only make it right with you, but hopefully reduce this from happening to anyone again in the future. Right? And then, if there's please accept this gift card, please accept, whatever that's going to be a little bit more customized. But, back to an earlier point, you said Starbucks, when we were working with them 10, 15 years ago, I remember they had come out with, and I think they still have them. If your order was screwed up or, or debacle or you're made to wait too long, they would give you your order, you'd pay, but they did give you a card that says, sorry that your experience wasn't what you or we expected. Your next beverage is on us. I love that. Like, I just think that's the coolest thing versus just taking someone's money and leaving and thinking, did they even know that was like the worst experience? This is saying, we know this wasn't right, and this is what I do to make it right. Right. So I love that. But getting to work with Starbucks at their corporate, their fear was that their employees, baristas, would give them out to, if he sneezed, everyone would get one. Well, 5 years later, their frustration was that their employees weren't giving them out enough. Right, that you would come and at lunch and ordered, had a 12-drink order for everyone in your office, and you paid and you leave. And then you come back 20 minutes later and say, you missed one was not this, one was that. Here it is, and no charge. Like, they're doing something great. Well, you've already paid for it. Well, she missed her lunch. She spent her lunch driving back and forth and probably having coworkers mad at her. You should have given her 3 there. And so, most of the time you'll see that you really have to encourage and celebrate and push employees to help customers, then that they're going to, give away the farm.
You brought up something with the email, thanking them. So this, for bringing this to your attention so it doesn't happen to someone else in the future. What do you do at that point to make sure it doesn't happen to someone else in the future?
Well, that's having your customer, client, guest challenges that get documented and that we can review and find that, or we're seeing, is it a one-off that was just such a bizarre thing, or is there, a pattern here happening, and why? Is it a system thing? Is it a training thing? Is it, an awareness that, and then being able to address and hopefully make that, go away or get greatly reduced.
We look for whose fault is it? Who do we blame it on?
Not necessarily the who is the origin of the fault. So it could be the person on tech support's fault, lack of a better word, but that's because they were never trained, and well, didn't you go through? Well, no, when we hired her, we were so short staffed, we couldn't put her through the training. We had to throw her on, on the phones because, and then, we always said we were going to put her through the zero risk training, and it just never happened. Right. Or, we haven't, trained her on that or that. It's usually a coaching, opportunity, or it could be a systems. It could be a computer, it could be a technology issue. It could, be any one of those things that, your complaint could be, I'm on hold forever. It could be a staffing, or, it takes, 7 minutes to schedule an appointment. That could be, a technology issue. By tracking your customer complaints and putting them into those buckets, you can find out and then execute on what system needs to be improved, whether it's people, training, or system.
And then is there follow-up once someone has complained, once you've sent a letter, once they've been given something to rectify the situation, a gift card?
Yeah, I mean, so that email that I use is usually the follow-up because hopefully I've already talked to them. And as promised, here is what I said I'd send you, and that's the follow-up. If it's major, we better, be following up. And major, listen, it could be a $200,000 product, service, and we got to make sure and check on them. Are things going better since, a few weeks ago when we talked? And they could say, absolutely, it seems to be resolved, or honestly, no, they're still not getting back to me. They're still ghosting me and all those things.
So service recovery starts with anticipating and goes all the way through recovery?
Yeah, to 100% happy, and which goes to the service recovery paradox. There's scientific evidence that, if you expect to, you go into a restaurant, a dentist's office, whatever business you're dealing with, you have expectations, not unrealistic expectations. Just, oh, this is going to be a nice dinner, or, I should get in and out of there in 45 minutes and, get my teeth clean, whatever the thing, and you expect it. And if it happens like that, you're not blown away. You're not more loyal. I don't think not being disappointed makes us loyal, but it doesn't mean you're going to go to them again. May or may not. But if someone opens, if you meet a dentist, if you meet someone opens a restaurant, or, you might jump at the chance, or someone gives you a gift card, you might jump at the chance for that. The service recovery paradox says that, if you have those expectations and they're met, you won't be, your expectations of lifetime value are not any higher. If someone drops the ball, like your Warby Parker, like my Amazon store, and make it right, you're 10 times more loyal in lifetime value and spend more. And so I always say, the best customer loyalty program we could do is screw up first, because of the potential. So I think, we have to look at screwing up as I don't like it, but it is an opportunity to be a hero to someone, because their expectations are that they're going to fight and, not, and you're like, no, and over deliver.
So you
not
heard
only
that here, folks.
Free, but your next one's free. Say again.
I said, so you heard that here, folks. Next time you screw up at work, something happens, explain that John DiJulius taught you that this is how you're going to retain and have loyal clients.
Yes, as long as you do the second part.
The recovery.
Yeah.
I know you're going to get into a lot more of this in the upcoming workshop in June, so I won't have you go through all of it today.
Yeah, no, I love zero risk. It's one of my favorite workshops that we do, and helping people figure out, from how not to say no when you can't say yes. What are your most common areas that customers put you in a position that you can't say yes to? Well, how can you, what are your answers that, it is not a no, but you can help get to a yes, give them options, give them that. Different, exercises like that. What are the stupid questions you get asked that aren't stupid to the customer, but may be stupid to you. Like, how long's a 1 hour massage? We get that in the salon. I don't know, maybe 60 minutes. Well, what they're really asking is, can I make it to my son's t-ball game tonight? And quite frankly, we want them there 15 minutes before to get changed in a robe. And then their massage is from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. But 90% of our guests will want to take a shower after. So while we only block off an hour, that's a good 90 minutes time, not counting drive, for someone. And that's what they're really asking is, can I get home can I make it to my next appointment? And so teaching your team members what is really being asked, instead of what they're literally saying.
Thank you, John. And we'll look forward to hearing more about this on June 8th. There will be a link to that in the show notes. And that's a wrap for today.
Thanks, Denise.